Stop letting the internet decide what you read all of the time. Today, I want to talk about how to curate your own reading taste so that it feels just like you. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Sam. I read books, and today we're talking reading taste, something I still struggle with to this day. I got 5 great tips for you on how to develop your own reading taste, how to maybe identify it as well, find books that align within that taste. So let's just jump right into it. First of all, have some definitions to go by, or maybe just some loose concepts. Just one here. I have some notes that I'm reading through so my thoughts don't get too jumbled. But what does reading taste actually mean? To me, I don't think it needs to be narrowed down into one specific category here. I don't think it's a specific genre or a specific aesthetic. I think it's a way that certain books make you feel, the emotions they tug at, how long they stay with you, why they stay with you. There's seemingly a silver lining between every book that sort of fits your taste, and identifying that, I think, will help you find books that you will enjoy later on down the future. So we're going to jump things off with the first tip here. That is to pay attention to patterns in books that you read and liked instead of various rating systems from those books. I would say identify themes or styles or time periods that you most identify with and enjoy. Take note of them, whether it's just in your head or write them down. And when other books become known to you that have a similar style, time, or theme involved, maybe look into that one and see if you would enjoy that. I have some books to talk through as well, specific examples and things of that nature. I guess we could kick it off here. I mean, I was planning to use this book for a different example, but it works for this one as well. In terms of books that rhyme together with their style or messaging or things of that nature, obviously all books are different, but it is nice to sort of have some continuity between them. You know you like this book, so maybe this book here that you are interested in, you think you will like. I'm talking about Office Girl by Joe Mano. I've never seen anyone read this book on the internet ever. And this book, when I picked it up, it sounded very similar to another very good book, there we go, that I had read last year. Let me just pick it up here. That is Happy Hour by Marlo Granados. I liked this book because it is very, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It is like like a popcorn book, so to speak, a book to not impress anyone, but to just enjoy and live with. I guess 10-second overview. What is this book about? It is about 2 girls that move to New York City with no money in their pocket, and it's just the adventures they get up to and the parties they go to and things of that nature. It is just sort of very fun, very light, and I am enjoying this. Similarly, very artsy as well. This book is similar. This has a more romantic element to it, so in a sense it is different to Happy Hour, and that is some differences that I'm enjoying with it. But it is about 2 people that really don't have a plan with their life. They're starting this new art movement at the turn of the century in Chicago, and just the adventures they get up to, the conversations they have, very similar to Happy Hour, and I'm enjoying it for that reason. So pay attention to the patterns, not the rating system per se. If I were to pay attention to the rating that this book had, I look it up on Goodreads, I think it has like a 2.9 star rating, which I do not believe in at all. But however, if I saw this book and I picked it up and I looked at the rating and didn't really gauge to myself, hey, this book sounds a bit similar to this other book that I thoroughly enjoyed, maybe I should give it a shot, I would have just put it back and never picked it up. But I listened to myself, I trusted myself via the patterns I had established, and it's turning out to be one of the better books I've read this year. So that's tip number 1, pay attention to patterns, not necessarily ratings. Ratings are a good thing to go on based, they have their place, but it's not a hard and fast rule. Next one here is maybe a bit of a hot take, but curate your inputs. Be mindful of who you take recommendations from. It's always good to follow people, that could be literally random man on the internet, or it could be your friends, family, coworkers, whatever. Follow people, I would say, with different reading tastes, so they broaden your horizon. You get exposed to more things. I feel like, especially in today's day and age, we can get stuck in an echo chamber of our own interests, and everyone else's interests are very similar to ours. And it's hard to break out and find new things. That's true for books. It's true for, another thing that comes to mind is like car culture, like different brands of car. People hang out with the same brand. Like, oh, I'm a BMW man. Oh, I'm a Honda guy, that sort of thing. But just like branch out, read good books, not because of what like genre they are, but because they sound interesting to you. And so curate who you take recommendations for. I would say maybe not use is the right word, but go and consume, book knowledge from other people as just discovery material instead of hard and fast instructions, so to speak. And this is something that took me a while to get over. My first year of reading, I was basically exclusively reading books that people on the internet had liked, and I didn't know my own reading style, and I got burnt by a couple of them pretty bad. I didn't like them at all. Some of them were good finds. Like, I think Happy Hour was recommended to me by someone on BookTube, and I ended up enjoying it. But you always sort of have to ask yourself first, is this a book that I want to read, or is this a book that someone else thinks that I would like? Trust yourself, make that decision, and go on. Also, at the end of the day, it's never that serious. Reading is just a hobby. These are just some tips to help you enjoy that hobby maybe a bit more. Third tip here is to build your own personal canon, your own personal library, and let it be personal instead of impressive. Build it because it's books you would want to read rather than books you would want other people seeing you reading. Get away from the performative aspect of reading as a whole. I guess this is another perfect example. This book is just checking all the boxes. If I were a stereotypical man reading a small in stature pink book called Office Girl, that's not very manly of me in today's day and age, but I'm really liking this book. So listen to yourself, I have this written down, listen to your mind and your eyes. I don't really know what else to put here, but listen to your head and the ways of, how I was just saying, like connecting the dots between two books that may be pretty similar, but also listen to your eyes. Book covers are made for a reason. Don't judge a book by its cover is true to some extent, but to some extent it's completely wrong. I frankly picked up this book because it was bright pink and it stood out amongst the crowd of tan and brown books on the Half Price Books bookshelf. Granted, I have been sitting on this book for maybe the better part of a year, and that is the thing. Curate your own personal canon, your own personal library. I knew I would like this book eventually, so I picked it up, and it was, the thing that opened that door for me was this bright pink cover, listening to my eyes. It drew me in. I picked it up, and there we go. Another good example of that, probably the best example of it, was I was looking for a specific book. I was looking for a book by Haldor Loxness. I can't, the title is escaping me. And so I was looking through because someone had recommended this book to me. It was his most famous book. I was like, oh, cool. Let me go pick that one up. They didn't have it, but they did have these by him, and I thought these covers were sweet. They also, again, stood out amongst the crowd of tan and brown books. They were very just nice to look at, bright colors, very nice fonts. I picked these up, and I cracked open the first one that I had bought, Independent People. Lo and behold, it's probably a top 3 book I have ever read, the only book I've ever tabbed and really took my time with to that degree. And the most recommended book on this channel if you aren't new here. If you are new here, like I said, consider subscribing. But again, listen to your mind and your eyes and trust yourself. Fourth tip here is something I really want to nail down on this channel. It's something I go by just in my own reading, is to have permission to read slowly. And reading doesn't have to be productive. You don't have to be sitting at your desk with your book open and your little banker's light on and your notebook and your pen and read and extract every ounce of learning from every book you open. Read slowly, enjoy the book, and just read. I find I don't read the same amount of pages every single day, and that's okay. This week, perfect example. Yesterday, I read probably 200 pages just because I got in a reading mood and I was going through it. The day before that, I had read maybe 15. So, read slowly, just listen to yourself. All comes back to trusting yourself and not being too hard on yourself. Especially in today's day and age, we got enough to worry about. You shouldn't have to keep up with these premeditated reading goals or societal pressures to read certain books, to look a certain way. Read slowly. You don't owe anyone your time or attention when it comes to books. Just read what you want to read, and that translates perfectly into my last point. Stop forcing yourself to like what is well liked by others. Popular books, good books. Separating the difference between a good book versus a good book for you. Obviously go for this one here 10 out of 10 times. Not really what else to say. That sort of wraps everything up here. And the point I want to hammer home is to trust yourself with your own reading taste. Pick up books that you want to read at the moment for whatever reason. For whatever reason that could be. A good example is, I mentioned yesterday, I was in a big reading mood. It was Friday. I had a call with my boss. We're just catching up, checking in. And he keeps telling me to read Game of Thrones. He knows I'm a big reader. Obviously, I check in on these calls, and this is my background. And so obviously he knows I'm a big reader. He keeps telling me to read Game of Thrones. And so I just listened to him. And I picked up Game of Thrones, and I read the first 3 chapters, and I am immediately hooked. So listen to yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. If I had these pre-described goals of, I need to finish X, Y, and Z book, and then I need to read this classic, and then read this book, especially in my case, read this book for a specific video I'm making or something to that extent. I probably wouldn't have picked it up. I picked up Game of Thrones. Obviously, this is the most popular classic book in the history of history. So maybe I'm contradicting my last point there, but I'm enjoying it nonetheless. I went with the flow of things. I listened, and there we go. I'm very much enjoying it. So with that, this may be a bit more of a ranty, rambly book. That's okay. That's how we roll around here. If you are new, like I've said, consider subscribing. I want to emphasize slow reading and reading what you want to read on this channel and break away from the fast fashionification that reading has become. So if that at all sounds interesting to you, stick around and we will leave it there. I hope you're reading a great book. I hope you have a great week of reading ahead of you, or weekend of reading whenever this video finds you. Give it a like if you liked it, so other readers around the world can stumble upon it much like yourself, and we will talk to you later. Appreciate you being here. Thanks.